everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Dani, and today Great.com talks with Chad Goods, one of the coaches at Legacy Youth Tennis and Education. Now, if you haven't heard of them yet, Legacy works to prepare youth for success through an inclusive community using tennis, education, and character programming. Now, before we begin, remember, if you're new here, press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app. Hi, Chad. Welcome to Great.com Talks.
Hey, Dani. I'm glad to be back with you.
It's our pleasure.
For our second attempt.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to work out this time, my friend.
I'm glad to talk to you.
Thank you. Let's begin by learning more about you, about your story, and how did you begin working at Legacy?
Okay, well, I guess my tennis coaching journey story actually began many years ago in 1973, and I won't tell my age at that time, but I was sitting on the floor next to my mother. My mother was watching something on TV, and I recall her just abruptly just screaming out of nowhere, "He did it! He did it! He won! He won!" And what she was referring to, this was the moment that Arthur Ashe had defeated Jimmy Connors to become the first African-American man to win Wimbledon. So my mom, she had always been a tennis fan. I had not really known anything about tennis. And I surely did not know anything about what would be the socio impact in the African-American community as far as Arthur Ashe being the first African-American male to win Wimbledon. And a few weeks after that, I can't remember exactly what time period it was, but my mom asked me would I like to, did I think I wanted to try to take up tennis? And I said, yeah. And she, we didn't have a lot of money. So at that time, she went out and kind of got me maybe like this $5 wooden racket, and I began playing tennis at that time. And now I'll tell my age. I was 10 at that time, and so I played through my juniors. I played a little bit early as an adult, but then after a while, I kind of began to get into other things and started to have my other careers, and my other adult life begin to start. But then many years later, after what may seem as a odd circumstance and chain of events, I ended up becoming a coach. I had a female coach here in Philadelphia. Her name is Hyacinth York. One day she walked up to me out the blue and asked me did I want to work for her. And I'd say a week later, the job that I was in at that time, I quit it, became a coach, and now here I am 17 years later. But it wasn't until 2 years maybe 3 years into my career that I began working at the time, it was Arthur Ashe Youth Tennis and Education. And then we ultimately changed our name to Legacy Youth Tennis and Education, where I have been there as a senior staff high performance player development coach since 2008.
Wow, that's a really wonderful and powerful story, I think.
Thank you.
And well, you mentioned that Legacy passed through some name changes, and I believe that many other things have changed because you began fully working at 1952, if I'm not wrong, right? That's when Legacy sort of began as a patronage. Is that right?
Yeah, well, actually, Legacy, actually this year, Dani, we are celebrating what is our 70th anniversary. Now, for us as an organization, we have gone through a number of iterations that led up to Arthur Ashe and a partner of his becoming involved with us as an organization. William Clothier was a local businessman who actually started a social tennis club. And then a few things happened after that led to it becoming a community-based organization. And then that was when Arthur Ashe became involved. And Arthur Ashe's vision at that time I'm going to say this was maybe late 60s, early 70s. He had a vision of a youth only tennis facility. He wanted the country's first youth only tennis facility. So therefore, that's when he became involved in. That was when we first became Arthur Ashe Youth Tennis and Education. But we were only able to. We had a licensing agreement with the Ashe family as far as using his name, and then when that contract came to an end, we ultimately changed our name to Legacy Youth Tennis and Education.
Got it. Got it. Thank you for making this clarification for me. And in that, right now, actually, I've got to say that I kept looking and doing my research as always about you guys. And
Right.
I really thought it was so interesting the way that you guys connect the tennis with the changes in the community, because it's not just taking the kids and putting them to play, right? You really try to make a broader connection with the community. What is exactly the work that you're doing right now in Legacy?
Well, Legacy, fundamentally, we have two lanes of work. Even though our tentacles are very deep into the community, we have two fundamental lanes that we operate. Number one is what we do on the community side in the parks and recreation centers and in the schools. But then we have the other side, which is more in our world, it would kind of be considered more like a tennis academy, but not a full-blown tennis academy where players come and live there and pay a tuition to be there. But we have our player development side, and that primarily happens at our center, which is in the East Falls section of Philadelphia. We are in I'm going to say it's about a $10 million campus, 16 courts. We have 8 indoor courts, 8 outdoor courts, and we have a lot of different things that we do under our roof. We got conference room, administrative suite, classrooms, library, kitchen, other office space, and all that. So it is a very vibrant community organization, particularly for those kids that are coming day in and day out as far as their player development. On the player development side, we have a number of programs that start for kids as early as 5 years old. And then we have we go through a progression, which is based on skill level. So it goes from our munchkins, which are the 5, I'm going to say 5 to 7-year-olds. And then our core of our player development really begins at the 7-8-year-old range, which is considered again, in our world, is considered 10 and under tennis. And there is high performance 10 and under tennis. I mean, particularly like right now, when you think about a player who's popular in our sport, Coco Gauff, just a few years ago, she was 14 years old playing Venus Williams at center court at Wimbledon. So for a player like that, she became a very serious player as early as 7, 8 years old for her to be on that pathway. All of our players aren't on that pathway as fast as she was, but although there is a notable female pro right now in the top 60 in the world, her name is Ann Lee. And Ann Lee did begin with us as a munchkin, and then in the early part of her junior development, and now she's a top 100 player in the world. So again, but just as far as our program, so we go through that early pipeline. We consider it a pipeline, which is that 10 and under. And then, but within tennis, you have also 2 journeys or pathways that you can take within tennis. You can either be a recreational level player, and that's a player who wants to get better and more so have some fun, but doesn't have any serious competitive ideas that they want to achieve or competitive goals as far as playing formal tournaments. And again, some players, they want to turn pro. Others, the other core thing or the big thing that our players are really looking forward to is becoming collegiate level players playing Division I, Division II, or Division III, and being able to get a scholarship to be able to defer some of the college costs and become a college student athlete. We have players that play in high school, and then we also have players that's kind of under the national level in our regional and our sectional level. They're very good at that level, but then we have players that also rise to the national level. We have many hundreds of players that we have graduated from our player development side that have gone on to major colleges and universities all over the country. And I mean, even for me, like every springtime is very special because I always have different sets of players that are graduating to their next level. So I'll have my younger to mid-level players that are going from elementary school to junior high. Then I have players that are going from junior high to high school. Then I have players that are graduating from high school, they're going to college. Then I have players that are in college that began with me or that I was part of their development years ago. They're graduating from college. And now, when I think about the first generation of players that I ever worked with when I began my coaching career in 2005, these are grown men and women now. They're working in their careers. They've graduated from college. Some are married. Some have children. I mean, they're doing many different things. So it is just so every year it is a constant. It's a constant growth that I'm able to see from the players that I'm working with daily, day in and day out on the court, and then what is going to be their growth and maturation as they're going throughout their lives in general. So that's what we're doing at our center. But then also we have what is called the National Junior Tennis and Learning Program. And that is it's a national program, but we are a major affiliate with it under the United States Tennis Association. And we just finished up our summer program in the community at about 17 different recreations and parks around the Philadelphia and surrounding suburban area. And we just finished up that program, and that serves somewhere maybe about 800 kids per year on that side of what we do.
Wow, I am amazed by the numbers, honestly.
Thank
And
you.
I kept wondering how wonderful it must be to feel part of these kids' lives. As you said, like throughout their whole lives, you met them as child and then you see them succeeding in their adult life. So it really must be so rewarding. I really kept thinking about that.
Yeah, it's something. I am fortunate, Danny, to be in a very lively career. I'm fortunate and blessed. I'm a very confident person. I'm a very confident professional within what it is that I do. So I just say that to say that I have many things that I'm able to do. So I'm able to have my hands in a number of different things as far as project coordination, traveling with players, day in and day out, working with them on the court and off the court and seeing them grow. And, usually it is said that tennis is a sport. It is a lifetime sport. And that is true. I mean, I'm a prime example of that. I mean, obviously now I am began playing at 10, and here I am now 17, 18 years into a career as a professional coach. But the sport offers many opportunities through, because tennis is a difficult sport to play. So it presents many frustrations and challenges and difficulties as young players and children are beginning to learn how to play, and what that journey will take them throughout their growth and development, and learning adversity and strength and perseverance and all of these catchwords and phrases that we use as far as youth learning and youth maturation and youth development. All of those things are found in the game of tennis. So and also for me, me being a father and a grandfather now, it's no way for me to unlink how my fundamental approach to what it is that I do, because I was a father before I became a coach. Now I'm a grandfather. My granddaughter's almost 2.5 years old now, but I was a father before I became a coach. So for me, there is a certain level of nurturing and teaching and learning that I bring to what it is that I do, because I feel like the biggest strength that I have ever brought to my coaching is that I was a father before I was a coach. So that allows me to be able to, number one, I'm able to stay young with them, but I'm able to impart wisdom and knowledge and education and things that I have learned from my own life, things that I have learned from raising my boys, raising my nephew, things that I have just learned from my mother and those people in my life that I looked up to, that played an influence in my life. It's no way for me to untangle and unweave that from how it is that I am as a coach.
Wow, I think it's so important that you mention all of those things, because I keep thinking that it's not just an opportunity for those kids to get in touch with the sport, which is good on itself just for health issues and all of that, but also because they are in constant contact and deep touch with people that have overcome battles in their lives and have these perspectives, and truly hear you saying it's something very, very inspiring. And I'm happy that they have this chance to share their lives with you. And you mentioned something before we begin, that you have a vacation on the way. And it's not just a simple vacation. What is going on?
Okay. All right. Well, right now, I am, as far as my year is broken up in a funny kind of way. So I am now ending up my work in what we do in our summer camps, our center-based summer camps, which is we have a Munchkin summer camp that's our younger kids. Again, I talked about the Munchkins. They're having a lot of fun being introduced to tennis. We have our mid-level players, we have our high-level players, and they're doing camp from 9 to 12 in the morning. Then they have lunch, and then they do afternoon from 1 until 3. So at the end of this summer, we're about to go into, we have a season which kind of mirrors what the school season is, going from September all the way until June. So for us, that's made up of 3 13-week sessions. So we have 3 sessions. So after next week, we're finishing up summer camp, and we're going to begin session 1 the Tuesday right after Labor Day on the 6th. So my vacation, one of my students has been selected to participate in a big event sponsored by the United States Tennis Association Foundation, co-sponsored by American Express. It's called the Excellence Cup. And we're going to be going to New York for an all expenses paid trip for some competition, some training, some social events, for some front row seats at the US Open. But on top of that, I also just got awarded, for me, another credential from American Express. And so this Tuesday that's coming up, I'm taking 24 kids up, and these kids are from 7 to 11 years old, and they are going to be participating in an event that shows the general tennis population audience, what do we do for young players at the 7 to 11-year-old range. So they play with smaller rackets and softer balls, it's called Rogi, and Rogi stands for red, orange, green, and yellow. And it's a ball progression which kind of downsizes tennis so that tennis becomes easier for younger players to be able to get into. So they're doing a red ball demonstration through a program called Net Generation. So we've got 24 kids and their parents that are going up. And then once they come back, I'll be staying in New York for about the next 10 days doing my filming that I usually do. I'm going to say this year makes the maybe about the 12th year that I've been awarded a credential to the US Open, because I also, with one of my roles is that I'm the director of video-based training, and video-based training and performance analysis in tennis IQ is a program where I use video-based content and tools as a visual learning players and train them and raise their tennis IQ. So I film the best players in the world, and then I use that video to be able to show, in particularly our higher level players, many things as it relates to their training and their growth and their development within the sport.
Wow, that's amazing. All of those things are amazing. Yeah. Well, first,
Well,
congratulations on all of this.
Man, we really there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things that I'm able to do. I have a broad skill set range, so I'm fortunate. Like I say, I'm fortunate and blessed to be able to have so many avenues to be able to, for my own professional growth and development. And also too, Danny, to a certain extent, within what it is I do, I have a great opportunity for personal growth and development, but as well as personal expression.
Yes.
So that's why I kind of, when I said to you in the email, I said, "Wow, I don't know how much time we're going to need because I like to talk." But really, but in essence, I have so many different things that I get the opportunity to do and to get ready to be involved in, and have all these different ways to be able to affect their lives, the relationship that I have with the kids that I work with. I mean, over the years, I mean, I have worked with thousands and thousands of kids. I mean, thousands, literally thousands of kids. So yeah, I have these very deep bonds and relationships with my kids, but I also have these very solid relationships with their parents, because within what we do, it's very similar to what happens in just a general education environment between a teacher, a school, and the home. So it's no different in that. In many things that I do approach it the way that an educator or a teacher was, and that is kind of in honor of my mother, who passed us a couple of years ago, because as she started a second career in counseling and education that went for about 15 years after she had retired from the federal government as a computer operator. So this is something that I get very honest. In career as a coach, between the relationship between me and my mother, a lot of things that I did made my mother happy, but nothing brought her more joy than me being a coach and working with players and their families the way that I do. Just simply nothing brought her more joy than that. And I was and I am still honored to be able to fulfill a certain destiny and a certain promise that I had to her while she was sick, and she was going to pass away. We had found out she was terminally ill. She made me make her a promise of how I was going to live my life after she was gone. So every day I have an opportunity to be able to fulfill that promise and keep to those orders, those marching orders that she gave me before she left here.
I fully can see and understand how proud your mother must be of you. You do an amazing work with his kids. And I feel like how connected this work is with your own personal values. And this is the most important thing for me, I think. And on that sense, how can people help you keep doing that? What is the best way to help Legacy keep doing this wonderful work?
Well, I mean, we have a need in a number of different areas. I mean, always financially is always a primary way. I mean, even in our campus, our main facility, our center, when you come into the building and you come upstairs and you look on the walls, everything in our environment was donated or gifted by somebody in the community, a business person. I mean, it's so many different levels and layers. So we have these donor lists. I mean, we do have a board. I mean, it's so always providing financial help, and that financial help goes to many different things. It goes towards our community program on the community side, things that we do as far as buying equipment for the kids, buying the rackets, buying the balls. It helps particularly on the community side. That helps us keep the cost very, very low and minimal and very manageable and affordable, because in part and parcel what our mission is on both of the sides of what it is that we do is what kind of opportunity. We're very focused and have clarity on giving focus and opportunities to those, and it depends on, listen, in our society, it depends on what catchphrase that you use: under resourced, disadvantaged. I won't take this moment to kind of go off into the debate about certain language, but is it those that are in some certain need and need a little bit of relief. Tennis is a very expensive sport. It's a very, very expensive sport. It's like golf. It's not like basketball where you can just go out to the playground and all you need is one basketball in a rim and some players to play with. Our sport is very, very expensive. Tournaments are expensive, rackets are expensive, strings are expensive, sneakers are expensive, the clothes they wear are expensive. If you get good, and it's something that I'm dealing with a player been with me, he's like a son. His dad is my coaching partner and my best friend. His name is Tawheed Browning, and he's been with me since he was 6 years old. He's 19 now, and he's about to turn professional. So one of the things that we are dealing with as far as the management of the early part of his career, this is separate from legacy now. All right. So, but just what we're dealing with as far as putting together a financial plan and a package that is going to give us the opportunity to fund the kind of traveling around the world that we need to do for him to be in the environment. Right now, I sent him to Florida just a couple years ago. It was time. He had decided that he was not going to go to college and that he was going to turn pro. So we had a little interim training that we needed for him to do. So he's with a very close friend and colleague of ours who has a small, intimate academy down in Florida. He lives at this coach's house, and so that's expensive. But the traveling that he needs to do, that we need to do, I need to travel where he just doesn't need to travel by himself. Somebody's got to travel with him. I'm his primary coach and his developmental team leader, and have been since he was 6 years old. So that's very expensive, and so that's just one of the examples of that. not every kid gets to that level. Okay. But I would say in my experience, I mean, literally, families are spending over the duration of a child's junior tennis career. Let's say that they are going about it with the specific hope and goal that they're going to get a scholarship to college. These families may be spending, they're spending, which could easily be upwards of $200,000. I mean, easily. Between lessons and camps and clinics and the travel. I mean, if these are the ones that if they're really getting good. And I mean, there are junior tournaments every single weekend of the year. There's not a weekend of the year that there's not a junior tournament. On my TV right here, I've got a professional going on right now. Everybody's getting ready to go start at the US Open on Monday. But at the professional side of it, I don't think there may be only 1 week at the one level of professional tennis that there's not a tournament. It's just about 52 weeks a year. Now they all don't play that heavy of a competitive schedule. But yes, I mean, tennis is very demanding on everything, all of these systems that have to be put in place. So back to the original question, Danny, how can they help? You can go to legacyYTE.org. You can get information on our programs, what it is that we do. There's an area there that will ask if you are interested in donating. Do you have a particular area that you would like for finances to go to? I would say in other areas that people are, wherever they may be, if they have a recreational side, even like right now, we have a partnership with right now is Jefferson University. It used to be Philadelphia University, where I was the head coach for about 4 years. And particularly at the early part of that relationship, our kids that were in summer camp on the campus there, which is only about a mile away from where our main center is at, they got to speak to professors and things at the university, talking about the college experience. And these are kids that are like 12, 13 years old, getting exposure to the idea and the notion of college and things that are there. So if people have things where they may be able to provide opportunities for our kids to come learn about business, to learn about education, to learn about entrepreneurship, whatever it may be. I mean, the beautiful thing about what it is that we do, that those that are out there that want to contribute something, I would say that everybody is almost in a unique position to be able to contribute something. It could be just of your time. Do you maybe want to sponsor a kid? You could sponsor a kid for lessons. You could sponsor some of their training. There's a lot of creative ways to be able for those listening and those watching to be involved. So you can just get that information from our website, give us a call, and sit down, and we can be creative. Again, we're going to have, like I said, this is our big 70th year anniversary. On September the 2nd, we're going to be having our annual benefit and gala at the center. The center is going to be turned into this beautiful auction environment with dinner, and I mean, it's all kind of things that are going to be going on. We need volunteers for that. You can get information again on our website about that. So don't feel like it just always has to be money. It doesn't have to be a whole lot of money. A little bit can go a long way, because I'll say this on an average, let's say, like, for those kids that are at the competitive side and those that are taking lessons, an average tennis lesson is going to go from between $75 an hour, maybe up to $125 an hour. So I feel like one of the things for me that I would like to see people do is to adopt a player, if you will, and maybe you could provide the finances for that player to have one lesson a month, maybe a couple tournaments for a year. You may have a business where you make certain items, maybe some arts and crafts or whatever. I mean, there's so many things that the spectrum is so wide open as far as as far as contributing and volunteering, and not just for Danny, not just for our organization, but just for organizations that are like us.
Absolutely. There's basically no excuse not to help, right?
Let me just say, like, even right now, it's through another program that we're part of. But right now, I'm also organizing a volunteer project where what we're going to do, we're going to have our kids take old tennis balls. What we do, we're going to cut them, and we're going to cut them in this four pattern. And these are the balls that go on the bottom of senior citizens' walkers and canes and things like that. So because my brother, before he passed, he was in a nursing home. So then I began to have a lot of these nursing home feelings and things when I was there that I noticed. So I came up with, I wanted to come up with this idea. These kids that are part of this one program, they have a volunteer requirement. So I wanted to come up with a creative way that could meet this particular thing. That was something that was important to me. So what we're going to do, we're going to be identifying all of these senior citizens facilities in the area. The first one is going to be where my brother was at before he passed away. And we're going to get the balls, prepare them, put them in nice boxes and all that. And we're going to take them, and we're going to go through any senior citizen that wants a ball to make their walking easier. We can put them in cafeterias on the bottoms of tables and chairs to make moving things around easy on these tile floors. So that's another project just for myself that's important, that fits in. So just with that, I wanted to come up with some kind of creative way. So that was one of my ways to contribute towards our kids being able to meet their requirement for this other program where they have a volunteer requirement.
Well, that's very, very creative. And thank you so much for helping us to see how many different ways we can find to help. And for those that are listening here, you can find the website that Cha mentioned either on the description of this episode or on our website. And thank you, Cha, for all of this conversation. I loved it.
Thank you. It was my pleasure and my honor, and I was looking forward to it. And hopefully we will get the chance to talk some more again in the future, Danny. Thank you so much.
I would very much love to. I think you have such a very interesting story. I would love to interview you personally. That'll be really, really nice.
All right, well, we'll work on that one. We'll work on that one. Okay.
I'll watch out for that, huh?
I look forward to that. You're a great host and a great interviewer.
Oh, thank you. And for everybody listening, also, thank you so much for staying here with us. And if you enjoyed this episode, remember to press subscribe on YouTube or in your podcast app, because that will show the algorithm that this is an important conversation, and then more people can learn about the importance of legacy, youth tennis, and education. Bye, and see you at the next episode.